The distress call came through at 3:47 a.m., pulling Coast Guard rescue swimmer Lieutenant Sarah Chen from a restless sleep at the Kodiak station. A fishing vessel was taking on water in the Bering Sea, 18 miles offshore. For crew members in the water temperature 32 degrees. Sarah had been a rescue swimmer for 6 years, had saved 43 lives, but the numbers on this call made her stomach turn. In water that cold, you had 10 minutes, maybe 15 if you were lucky, before your body simply shut down. The helicopter crew assembled in 4 minutes, rotors spinning as Sarah checked her dry suit, her fins, her rescue gear one final time. Through the windows, she could see the dark ocean below, white caps visible even in the pre-dawn darkness. Her instructor's words echoed in her mind: the ocean doesn't care about your training, your courage, or your family waiting at home. Tonight, she would test every ounce of both. The scene below was chaos when they arrived, the fishing vessel listing severely, its deck already half submerged, debris and fishing nets scattered across the violent waves. Through her night vision goggles, Sarah could see 2 figures clinging to an overturned life raft, but the other 2 were nowhere in sight. The helicopter pilot, Marcus, fought the wind gusts that threatened to slam them into the water, holding position as best he could. Sarah's flight mechanic, Rodriguez, gave her the signal, and she clipped onto the rescue hoist, her heart rate spiking despite years of training. As they lowered her toward the churning black water, she went through her mental checklist: assess survivors, prioritize the weakest, watch for hypothermia signs, avoid the nets that could tangle and drown them both. The moment her body hit the water, even through the dry suit, the cold was staggering, a visceral reminder that she was entering an environment designed to kill humans. She released from the hoist and began swimming toward the raft, each stroke a battle against waves that wanted to pull her under. The 2 men on the raft were in bad shape, one unconscious, the other barely coherent, his lips already blue, his speech slurred. Sarah secured the rescue sling around the unconscious man first, signaled Rodriguez, and watched as he was lifted into the helicopter. The second man, a young crew member who couldn't have been more than 25, grabbed her arm with surprising strength. 2 more, he mumbled through chattering teeth, pointing into the darkness. Captain and Dmitri went under nets. Sarah's blood ran colder than the water. Fishing nets were a rescue swimmer's nightmare. Nearly invisible, impossibly tangled, they turned the ocean into a death trap. Protocol said to get the survivors she had and search for the others from the air, but protocol was written by people in warm offices who'd never heard someone beg for their crewmates' lives. She helped the young man into the rescue basket, then made a decision that violated every safety rule she'd been taught. Instead of going up with him, she dove down into the black water, following the submerged outline of the sinking vessel, searching for men who might already be dead. Her flashlight beam cut through the murky water, illuminating a nightmare scene of twisted metal and floating debris. Then she saw it, a hand, reaching up through a tangle of netting, still moving. Sarah kicked hard, fighting the current that wanted to slam her into the jagged hull, and reached the trapped man. It was the captain, his leg hopelessly snarled in the net, his face a mask of panic as his air ran out. Sarah pulled her dive knife and began cutting, but the net was thick commercial-grade rope, and each strand took precious seconds. The captain's movements were getting weaker, his eyes starting to roll back, and Sarah realized with horror that she might be watching him die in her arms. She cut faster, ignoring the burn in her lungs, the screaming cold seeping through her suit, the voice in her head telling her to surface before she became another victim. One final strand parted, and she hauled the captain toward the surface, his dead weight pulling her down. They broke through into air, both gasping, and Sarah saw Rodriguez already lowering the rescue basket, having tracked her dive lights. As they pulled the captain up, Sarah heard him whisper Dmitri, and her heart sank. There was still one more down there. Sarah had been in the water for 18 minutes, well past safe limits. Her core temperature was dropping, her movements sluggish, her thinking fogging at the edges. Marcus's voice crackled in her helmet. "Chen, you need to come up now. That's an order." But she could see the hull sliding under, the last air bubble streaming up, and she knew if Dmitri was down there, he had seconds, not minutes. She dove again, deeper this time, her flashlight sweeping frantically across the sinking vessel. And there, wedged in the doorway of the wheelhouse, unconscious or dead, she couldn't tell, was a large man in orange coveralls. Dmitri. Sarah grabbed him and pulled, but he was stuck, and her oxygen-deprived brain took too long to realize his jacket was caught on a door handle. She unzipped it, yanked him free, and kicked for the surface with the last of her strength. They broke through just as the vessel disappeared into the depths with a groan of twisted metal. Rodriguez had the basket waiting, and they hauled both Sarah and Dimitri up together, the rescue swimmer barely conscious herself. As the helicopter banked toward shore, the flight medic began CPR on Dimitri while Sarah lay shivering violently, unable to move or speak, wondering if she'd just saved a life or recovered a body. 3 days later, Sarah sat in the base hospital, her body slowly recovering from moderate hypothermia and exhaustion. All 4 crew members had survived. Even Dimitri, who'd been without oxygen for nearly 3 minutes, had woken up with no apparent brain damage. The Coast Guard brass was divided. Half wanted to give her a medal for extraordinary heroism, half wanted to suspend her for violating protocol and nearly getting herself killed. Sarah didn't care about either. She sat by Dimitri's bed, watching his family cluster around him, listening to the captain describe her as an angel who wouldn't give up, and felt the weight of what she'd done settling on her shoulders. She'd gambled not just with her own life, but with the lives of everyone who would have tried to rescue her if she'd failed. Marcus, visiting with flowers and a grim expression, asked her if it had been worth it. Sarah looked at Dimitri's young daughter, maybe 8 years old, holding her father's hand, and couldn't answer. The question haunted her through her recovery, through the investigation, through the sleepless nights when she relived every second of that dive. But 6 months later, when the next distress call came through and her body moved automatically toward the helicopter, Sarah had her answer.